me something.
What do you know about Wakanda?
It's a third world country. Textiles, shepherds, cool outfits.
All front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado. They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa the whole time. I'm the only one who's seen it. And made it out alive. I can see you.
The world is changing. Soon there will only be the conquered and the conquerors.
Step into the spotlight.
You are a good man
Step into the spotlight.
with a good heart. And it's hard for a good man to be a king.
Hello and welcome back to Joygasm, where we talk about video games, movies, and pop culture. I'm Russ, Xbox Live Toaster 360, and with me is Steve, Xbox Live Steve-ovich, as we begin episode 59 today, February 17th, 2018. To get the most out of Joygasm, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Just do a search for Joygasm TV. In addition to iTunes and Android, you can listen to our podcast on TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and soundcloud.com/joygasmtv. Also, for exclusive access and some sweet goodies, check us out at patreon.com/joygasm. And no matter which platform you use to enjoy the show, drop us a subscription, a thumbs up, or a review. Today's episode is dedicated to none other than Black Panther. And I think what we'll do is what we always do with these types of movie reviews. We'll start out with a high-level impressions, just for those of you who want to get a little taste but not want to have any spoilers. And then we will go directly into the spoiler zone and do a nice detailed analysis. So, Steve, how you doing?
Russ, I'm a little sleepy.
Well, it's time you woke up.
Yeah, let's see. Well, we went to the theater last night. We thought we were going to be early, and it was only front seats available.
That's right.
So we thought, okay, well, we'll stand in line for an hour and a half and make some friends, make some buddies.
Yep.
And so then we watched the movie. The movie was actually kind of long, and so
I actually don't remember how long it is.
I don't remember how long it is either, but the movie started at 9:40. We didn't get out till after midnight, and then by the time I got home, of course, it was close to 1. So
That's right.
and then I had to get up this morning and go to work. Awesome sauce. So yeah, here we go. How about you? You got the day off. It's been nice.
Yes, no, I'm very glad I have a. Actually, it's not just a two-day weekend; it's a 3-day weekend.
Not for me,
I
it's
have
not.
Monday off.
I have to work Monday.
That's one of the advantages of working for a bank. But no, it was really cool. I've been looking forward to being able to see this movie for several months now, and so I was glad that we were able to go Friday night and check it out.
Indeed.
So, what were your high-level thoughts overall?
Well, what I liked, I'll tell you what I liked. I'll just run down the list because I liked a lot of things about it and some stuff I didn't like. I'm not going to give anything away, Russ, so don't stop me. Don't stop this ball from rolling.
I'm going to make sure you don't go a little too far into the weeds, but please continue.
So, all the chemistry with the cast was great. The ensemble, the supporting actors, actresses, they were all fantastic. Pretty much everyone lit up the screen, and
Yeah.
no, there was no doubt about it. Everyone who they chose was great. I love the music. I love that they didn't speak English throughout the whole entire movie. They spoke their native language. I thought was wonderful. Actually, I thought I would have liked them to speak more of their native language. because that would just make sense.
It would probably be a bit more authentic.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting if they actually did that and just had subtitles throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even not even been opposed to that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And hearing all those languages, the Bushman language in there, all this different stuff filtered in.
Sure.
That was awesome. I liked it. So yeah, costumes. I mean, dude, costumes galore. Beautiful, colorful, everything. I mean, just it was a marvel for the eyes.
Oh.
So
I see what you did there.
yeah, you see that? Now, one thing that I like that other folks haven't liked so much, but one thing I've been complaining if people have been listening into our movie reviews is the pacing of the movie. I liked the pacing of the movie because as I've been moaning about for the last year, I think people these filmmakers go too quickly through the film. We don't get to know these characters, especially these characters are going to be around for a while. I want to know them. I want to identify with them, and they did take their time.
They did,
letting us get to know Black Panther and the people he was with, his guards, and his land, Wakanda.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciated that a lot. So anyway, the pacing. Yeah, I love the pacing. So let's see what else. I like that the story of T'Challa was different than like Tony Stark's story with his father and what's his face, Thor's story with his father. You know, I see
a lot of father-son parallels.
Hey, you know what? I like a little father-son stuff, Russ. So anyway, to see so the dynamic between both of them was great, very heartfelt, very warming. I did like every time they were on screen and all their little discussions. And you knew that he was raised right. He's got a great heart. And I liked that when both the men were masculine, the women were feminine, and they were both confident on each side. I don't know if that makes total sense in my mind. It might not make sense to anybody else, but I was looking at it like, man, every time the women are on screen, they grace the presence, and they're funny, and they're charming, and they're beautiful, and they're gonna kick some butt, and they did. And then when the men were on screen, it was like, yeah, you know what? They can be romantic, they can be strong, they can be confident, they can be leaders, and it just I don't know. All the dynamics seemed to kind of work for me. I can keep going here, Russ.
I'm all ears.
I can keep going.
I've been dying to hear your thoughts ever since we saw it last night.
Yeah. Let's see. So there's some stuff that I didn't care for too much, Russ. So
as long as they're not spoilers.
They're not spoilers. So I'm not gonna say anything that happened. I'm just gonna say some of the stuff that I wasn't too
Okay.
I thought that the CGI could have been better.
Yes, I agree.
As much hype as this movie has, I think it should have been better. But that's a minor criticism because this is not known as a CGI movie. This is a lot deeper than just a CGI movie. So that's a minor criticism. But I saw it anyway. Moving on. I was about to say something. I stopped myself.
I'm proud of you, Steve. Way to go.
Yeah. Don't slap me in the face. Reach across this table. So I did think that some of the fighting in the movie wasn't as Black Panther-y as like, say, Civil War. Captain America Civil War. So I wanted a little bit more of the Black Panther in the Civil War than what I got here. What I got here wasn't bad. It's just that I wanted more of what I saw originally.
Okay.
Some of the dialogue, there were only snubs here and there that I didn't care for. I think they could have written it better. I think the first, second act were good. And then towards the end, it kind of started to get a little rickety, a little shaky. I don't know why. I mean, they could have just kept the pacing going throughout the entire thing with the script. And I'm not sure if it started thinking, okay, we need to go back to the Marvel formula of how everything should work, and instead just let Black Panther be Black Panther in its own independent film. I don't know. It seemed a little bit wishy-washy there towards the end. I think I'll stop there. What about you?
I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was actually really refreshing to see a predominantly African American cast, especially as it applies to Marvel Studios and just the MCU as a whole. I really loved how we were able to bring in just this whole other dynamic into the family of Marvel, especially with it being based in Africa, because a lot of what we've seen so far has been pretty much based in America. You don't really have too many characters that have been introduced yet that are from other places. Like, you have sprinklings here and there. But this was something that I think was just the timing was perfect for them to bring out the family of Black Panther. There was a lot of great talent in this movie. I'm actually not too familiar with a lot of the folks who were in this, which is great because it was like, oh wow, new faces. Okay, who's this? Who's that? There were some recognizable faces, of course, that were just welcome to my eyes. It's always a pleasure watching Chadwick Boseman. I've actually watched him play James Brown, as well as there was another film that's escaping my mind at the moment, but he's really coming forward to me as like a method character actor. Like, he's someone who can really just get into the role. I mean, just even from a voice perspective of, like, when he played James Brown, he really had that kind of high-pitched, gravelly kind of sound to like kind of what James Brown would sound like when he would speak. And then you see the contrast of that to playing Black Panther, T'Challa. Yeah. And how he was able to adopt that African accent. Those types of things I thought were super cool. Also, Andy Serkis, of course, was just gold. Such a huge fan of Andy. Yeah. And just, overall, I think the cast for the most part was perfect. I think the plot was enjoyable, albeit predictable. And it's like a standard hero's journey type affair. But having said that, there were other elements to the plot that I thought were fresh. So that's good.
Sorry to interrupt you. When you were talking about Chadwick's accent, Chadwick starred in a different movie. I'm trying to find the name of it. I was looking on IMDb a second ago, but he had this voice coach where he started doing this African accent, and he's got it down. Yeah. And a buddy of mine is actually from Namibia, and he goes, "Man, he sounds authentic. Like, that's how good it is." Oh, good. I got a man from the homeland who says it sounds good. So
there's another movie again. Whenever you get a chance, just imdib him.
I don't have the chance right now, Russ.
Yeah. Because there's another film that I saw him in, and he also adopted a certain type of sound to his voice, which was also really.
Well, I have
cool.
his filmography right here if you want to take a peek at it.
Let me take a look at it. There you go.
Pass that on over to you.
Let's see. Yeah, Get On Up is the one where he was. James Brown. There was also 42, and it may have been 42 that I was thinking of, honestly.
Don't get distracted by any of my selfies in there, Russ. Okay, you're supposed to be looking at IMDb.
Well, I don't think there are any selfies of you on IMDb. Yeah, him just playing Jackie on 42 is probably what I was thinking of. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what other kind of future films he's going to be in, because I think he's very entertaining. Anyway, other high-level thoughts. I thought, just as I've already mentioned with Chadwick, I loved the accents. Yeah. I've always been a big fan. It doesn't matter where you come from in this world. I think accents are just fascinating. I love being able to chat with folks who are from different parts of the world, and just, whether they speak their native language or if they're speaking English, but then they have that accent that's kind of accompanying the English language. Huge fan. Yeah. And I thought it was so refreshing to see a film like this where you hear a lot of that going on.
It's very that African accent's very eloquent. and it's very precise at the same time. It
Yes.
almost sounds wavy, but it's very precise with like the vowels and such. Yeah.
Yeah, I really did like that a lot. And what was interesting too is in the film, you know, obviously you have the antagonist, and we'll get more on that later. But the antagonist had more of an American accent.
Sure, as you should. Yeah.
And so it's just it was interesting just listening to how different it was that depending on if you had an American accent versus an African accent, and just both of them speaking English, how much of a difference in quality you could hear the different dynamics of. I thought that was, I don't know, I for one really enjoyed that. I also am looking forward to seeing more from the Black Panther world. After seeing this film, I'm on board totally. I really enjoyed myself, and I hope that they are able to expand more into this world after setting it up. So if I were to say anything else, I think I'd be going into spoiler territory.
Spoilerville.
But a lot of the things that you also covered too in your high level thoughts, I'm definitely on the same page as it applies to like the visual effects. I thought certain parts were a little too green screeny.
Yeah.
But some of the other comments that you made too, it's probably just not worth me repeating because you've already said them.
Yes, Russ, I can hit the nail on the head every once in a while.
Well, I would say it would be more than every once in a while. But why don't you follow me into the spoiler elevator, Steve?
Click the button here. I know they've been maintaining the elevator, so we may have to wait for a bit, Russ.
Well,
Yeah.
I can see they have the Black Panther poster sitting up here in the elevator.
You know, this is very, well, it kind of
What is it, Steve?
vacation-y music here for this cold and rainy season.
It is indeed.
Sounds summery, like I should have a cocktail. Just a little shrimp sticking out of it, you know?
You think they have this kind of music in Wakanda?
Probably at one of the American resorts. Yes. Yeah, otherwise, no.
No, probably not. All right, we are jumping into the spoiler part of this review. Let us begin with cast/acting. So as I mentioned, I think you did too during the high level thoughts, overall the casting was terrific. I think it was 99% perfect. Really the only, and this is what I want to get your thoughts on, Steve. So one of the drawbacks, in my opinion, of the film was the casting of Martin Freeman, who played the CIA operative. I didn't think he was a good choice.
Well, he was in Civil War, so I think they still.
I don't even remember him being in Civil War.
Yeah, he came in kind of towards the end, so I know they had to use him again. But I understand. Yeah, I do like Freeman.
Don't get me wrong. I like him in other roles, but I don't think he was a good casting choice for this particular role.
You know who I wanted to see come back? I want to see the original S.H.I.E.L.D. guy.
Agent Phil.
Agent Phil. Yeah.
Yes.
How awesome would that have been if he came back and then they were somehow able to heal him, or I don't know, bring him back. I don't know. If he was there, he needs to be in this universe.
That was totally in my notes as well about how that guy was perfectly cast as an agent. But again, he was more of like the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. You know, he wasn't part of the CIA or anything like that. But to your point, the idea of how he was able to appear in several different Marvel films and just work. Yeah. And where like he was into this unassuming character, and he had a little bit of mystique about him. He had a toughness, but at the same time he flew under the radar and stuff. And I mean,
kind of a strong silent type.
Well, not necessarily strong silent type, but just he was a calculating type. He was one where like at first glance, you didn't really think much of, but then the more you got to know him, you're like, man, this is not a person to be trifled with.
Yeah, he's
like,
a player.
Yeah, he definitely has his own way of surviving and doing things. Whereas Freeman's character, Freeman has always played characters in the past of more supporting roles, right? Like he was in The Hobbit.
Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, I mean, just
Hobbiton.
that kind of not neurotic, but just I don't know. Like he has definitely carved a niche for himself in terms of the types of characters he plays. Like I really enjoy him on the Sherlock Holmes TV show because he plays Watson. Great supportive character choice for Cumberbatch. And also, like I said, in Hobbit, he plays more of a main character role in that. But at the same time, it's more of a mild or meek type of character.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see, like, once again, when I think CIA, I just don't think of him.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, okay, so.
Yeah. Phil, right?
Agent Phil?
Agent Phil. He came in with the original Iron Man, which kind of booted off the whole entire Avengers thing, and he came in with Thor. I just think they killed him off a little bit too early, or they released Black Panther a little bit too late, because he should have been in this movie.
So I liked, without digressing too far off of this, I really liked his character arc. I felt that when he died, I felt that was perfect timing because it acted as a vehicle for all of the different Avengers to actually put aside their differences and come together and unify. I thought that was a wonderful vehicle for that particular film to have that happen, because everybody, didn't matter like who the moviegoer was, everybody liked Agent Phil.
Yeah.
I mean, they did such a great job cultivating that. And for him to die, not only did the Avengers have that type of response, but everybody who went to the movie was like, oh my gosh, they killed Agent Phil. That's not cool. And so I think in terms of Black Panther,
not cool, man.
In my opinion, I think that Black Panther, like the timing of it was perfect. I just think that they needed to cast someone else other than Freeman in that particular role. But of course, Chadwick, I thought was the perfect Black Panther. I cannot see anyone else playing the character of Black Panther. Granted, I have not read the comic books.
Right.
I never read that part of the Marvel universe, but looking at how he portrayed the character, I thought he was great. What'd you think?
I did think he was wonderful. I was doing a little bit of digging before the movie, and the Black Panther is one of the more intellectually superior Avengers.
Yeah.
But I felt it refreshing to see he had this calm in his eyes and a calm in his voice, and that's so different than the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So I loved how he portrayed the king, and he was going to be a heartfelt king, a loving king, merciful king, respected king, loyal. I mean, all these good. I threw all these good words at you, and that's who he was. He wasn't going to be this tyrant anywhere, and you saw that in the very beginning scene when he's about to gain or be crowned, I should say.
Yeah.
And the rest of the tribe
harness the mantle of responsibility,
right?
As
and
king.
The rest of the tribe had so much respect from, like, yeah, we're not going to, we want all the power, but at the same time, we know you're the guy, and so we're just going to hand it to you. And even what was interesting too, that I don't want to deviate, but
yeah, you don't go too far into the weeds with the plot, because we'll get there eventually.
Okay,
Russ. Let's focus on the cast.
Okay, Russ. So
pulling Steve back. he's getting to the deep inside the pool, trying to get some water wings on him.
Treading water for now, Russ.
Yeah, we're gonna get you past doggy paddling. Don't you worry.
I only doggy paddle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I appreciated him. I just thought like I said earlier on, I wanted to see a little bit more charisma with him, a little more growl, with Black Panther. And the one time that we were about to see it, they stopped it, and I don't know. When we saw him back in Captain America: Civil War, he had all this prowess about him, and you just didn't try with him. And the whole entire team was going, "Whoa, who's this guy?" I mean, everyone was trying to stop him, and then all of a sudden, one dude who's not even a superhero, he's just a tough guy, basically, tough Marine, was able to take him out. Granted, they were both didn't have any superpower at that point, but it didn't matter. If you know how to fight, you know how to fight, and he should have completely toppled Killmonger, and he didn't. I don't know. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. But as far as his character and his acting, spot on. I'd love to see more of him.
Now, Andy Serkis. What is it, Steve?
I forgot he was actually going to be in the movie.
I did too.
So when I saw him, I'm like, oh yes,
This movie just got a whole lot better. Yeah, man, just him playing Ulysses. Oh, man, like, excuse me,
makes you cough.
Klimt over there.
I know,
Man,
yeah.
woo. But no, I really have not seen a role where I was not happy with his performance.
Although I will say, when he laughed in that
Interrogation room?
interrogation thing. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word.
The room that is used for
Questioning.
extracting information from handcuffed people.
So when he laughed in there, I thought, every little Andy Serkis thing that I've seen him laugh in, it just reminded me of that. I wish he would have laughed different, because I just saw Gollum right there.
Yeah. Now, Michael B. Jordan, I thought was captivating as Killmonger, who of course was the main antagonist. I've actually been following his work also since Friday Night Lights. And it was cool to see him in a role like this. I don't know, like he definitely owned the character, and the character itself. And I'll get into more of this when we get into plot, but I just felt like he did a nice job of making the character not one dimensional. There was more of a complexity that was there. And like I said, I enjoyed watching him. There was, for some reason, I think he has a bit of a younger looking face.
Yeah, he does.
and I don't think that accurately reflects how old he truly is. But that was it. Like, if I had to be like super picky, I did feel as though he had kind of a baby face. And as a result, there were certain times where I was kind of like, oh man, he just seems like he's a little too young for this particular character. But at the same time, I mean, his performance more than made up for that. Like, it was just like, wow, okay, yeah, this guy definitely is a threatening character.
Yeah, he brought it, but I disagree a little bit. I thought that he wasn't complex enough, meaning that as much of the military background that everyone was touting in the movie that he had,
Yeah.
all I really saw was this guy who kind of went through the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
And so he was a tough guy, but I didn't see any of that military discipline, which if you've been in the military as long as he has, even not even that short of a time. I mean, you and I have both talked to plenty of folks, plenty of veterans, and they just have a look in their eye and a tone in their voice. And I not that I wanted to see that exact those exact mannerisms replicated, but I wanted to see some sort of military discipline from the Marines and from his experience come shine through with him.
Mm-hmm. Now, Lupita was, I thought, lovely as I can't remember exactly how to pronounce these names, so I believe it's Nakia, but she was the love interest of T'Challa. I thought that she had a really nice dynamic opposite of Chadwick. And I like just how she played kind of more of the spy role. She could hold her own, but at the same time, there was, like, to your point, more of a femininity to her role overall. One of my favorite characters in the entire movie was Denai. She was the general of Wakanda. And like her name, I think was awesome. Like Okoye or something like that. Man, talk about fierce, like just overall, like whether it was her facial expressions or her demeanor or just the way that she carried herself.
Yeah.
I mean, every time she was on screen, I was just absolutely
she was almost stealing the show, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being real, with all the fight scenes, when she was on, I'm like, okay, this is going to be good.
I think her full name is Denai Guerrera, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. But
when I saw her first start a fight, I thought, they're gonna kill her. They're gonna kill her off. And I'm like, don't kill her, don't kill her.
Yeah.
And they gave me that. They gave me her to live. Thank you.
Yeah.
They killed off Jordan, Killmonger, which I didn't think they had to, but
yeah,
at least they.
Again, we'll get to that in the plot. Pulling Steve back out from the deep end of the pool. Come back over here, Steve.
I like to swim.
I'm gonna put you in a life preserver.
I want waiters, Russ. Give me waiters.
Waiter. Okay, here you go. Now, Daniel Kaluuya, excuse me, had an interesting role as Wakabi. Did you realize that he's from the film Get Out?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't, just because he had facial hair and he had some of the African paint, like the face paint on there, I was like, I'm not exactly sure. Like he had like this familiar look, but I wasn't quite sure until I dibbed him.
Right.
But I thought he did a nice job too. I thought once again, his relationship to the family and to the tribes overall was pretty cool. You could tell he had some history and that sort of thing. And overall, I once again, his character arc somewhat was predictable, but at the same time, I thought that there were parts there too.
Okay, now you're starting to swim a little bit there, Russ.
No, not swimming.
You're
not swimming.
into arcs. Let's talk about
I'm
the
talking
cats.
about how I appreciated how he was able to hold the line of his acting between these two places.
Okay, Russ. Okay.
So, no, I thought he was good. Letitia Wright, I thought was adorable as T'Challa's sister / inventor.
Totally brightened up every time she was on the screen.
Yeah.
That smile, those eyes, everything. She's
And of course, Winston Duke's character, M'Baku, also had an interesting character arc.
He was cool.
Yeah. He was just, again, I've never seen his work before, but again, every time he was on screen, I was like, whoa, okay.
He was cool.
He's a big man.
Yeah, I hope he returns in the next Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't, I'm gonna be a little sore.
Little sore?
A little sore, a little salty.
Okay. And of course, love me some Angela Bassett.
I was going to say that, Russ, if you didn't mention Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett is a staple of our family's just movie cinema going experience.
Yeah,
like we know we're in for a treat every time we get to see Angela Bassett on screen. Right. And of course, she did not disappoint at all.
Right. Never does. I don't think I've ever seen her bad.
No, it's super cool. Forrest Whitaker did a fine job as the master of ceremonies, so to speak. Very, very cool. Let me think. Was there
Florence Kasumba, John Kanai?
Oh yeah, John made an impact on me when I first saw him in Captain America: Civil War. I really loved just the love and affection that he exuded in his performances.
He has a very kind presence.
Yeah, very kind presence. And he made a lasting impact on me from Civil War when he was about to speak, and then there was that bomb explosion that went off and it killed him and whatnot. Like I really felt sympathy for not only T'Challa, but also just seeing this kind-hearted character go down the way he did. And so I was not expecting to see, that was one of the more unpredictable things about the film. I did not expect him to make a return. And so I was very happy that he did. I think, are there any other characters that stood out to you in terms of who we are covering at this point?
No, not. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Well, I realize the dam is about to burst in terms of the plot. So let's just jump into the plot here.
Can I do a cannonball?
Oh, you sure may. So overall, I thought the plot was interesting in areas, but like I said, I do think because it was this standard hero's journey, ultimately it was predictable. I liked how Black Panther could have his powers given to him, and also be stripped away. That to me is one of the most original attributes to what makes a superhero. Because typically, like a lot of the superheroes that you and I follow, they're just always there. Like once there is some sort of experiment gone awry, or they've been exposed to something, or whatever it is. I mean, with the exception of certain characters like Iron Man, because obviously Iron Man he is dependent upon wearing his suit. But I mean, he's also brilliant and everything else. But I did love the whole notion that they were able to give whoever it is, like it could be anybody, this particular power, and they could take it away. And I liked how that was also ingrained into their traditions and their culture. What do you think?
Yeah, twofold. I think, I agree that it was original and it was cool. It was kind of a little bit, was it Amazing Spider-Man, or what was the latest Spider-Man that was out?
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming. So, you know, he has that whole, or Peter Parker has that conversation with Tony Stark about you're not, if you're nothing without this suit, then you don't deserve the suit, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even though it's not, there was the suit, but I did think that, I thought it was cool that they could take the power and give it back, but I also thought it was cool that they reserved the power for not just for only one person. Like anybody could have gone in there and they mashed up a little glowing flower and and they become a Black Panther. I mean, that's that Michael B. Jordan became Black Panther for a little bit. So, but the culture was so reserved and loyal that. And disciplined. Very disciplined and just, you could tell they celebrated their traditions and their culture. Their culture, their traditions, and their land, Yeah, and I think that was really cool. I found myself thinking in the theater there, the same thing about, wow, like they harvest and grow more of these flowers, and it's amazing how despite the temptation of wanting to just grab one of those and be able to have the same type of power, at least in this particular film, we were not made aware of anybody actually abusing that. Right. But then I go back to my point of, okay, so they gave him the power of the Black Panther, but without that, he can fight, but not that great. And I wanted to be able to see him hold his own and fight even without this power that's healed him quickly and allowed him hyper agility and whatever and whatnot. Right. So I mean, if it was him against his general would have whooped him. Possibly. I think what's interesting about T'Challa is that he shows enormous restraint in a lot of different capacities. He's not someone who is just ready to brandish the sword, so to speak. I mean, you can tell that he's a good king because he looks and explores other avenues of trying to get a means to an end, right? Sure. And I think what's interesting about that is that in a way it's kind of similar to that of a Jedi, right? Like the Jedi's last resort, his absolute last resort is to fight. Of course, we always see him fight, so. And we always look forward to it, and we cannot wait for those fights. But I think what's interesting is that when you look at the general or you look at Killmonger, that is their first go-to is always fight. And I think what's interesting about T'Challa's character is that he's constantly trying to avoid fighting. He's trying to just find a conclusion that is more of a peaceful resolution. Yeah, I get it. And so it's more of a slower kind of, I don't know, there were times that he had to fight, though. Yeah, there were times he had to fight. Like for instance, actually, and this goes back into your point earlier about how in Civil War, he was much more quick to fight. And I think it was because he had just lost his father. He didn't know what was going on. He knew that some bad stuff was happening. And as a result, he was more aggressive, I guess you could say. Responding to his anger. Yeah, just he had more of that seeking justice, wanting that almost revenge in a way for the murder of his father. Less calculated. Yeah. And so I think actually in a way, like going into this movie as Black Panther, we know that event had transpired. He was on his way back to his country. And as a result, this was the transitioning, right? It was the transition point of him now having to go through the ceremonies of becoming the official next king. And I really did appreciate how he was showing how he was having to adopt this new responsibility, how he was going from being the king's son to now he is the king. And so as a result, having these different characters, whether it was family or it was the different leaders of the tribes or what have you, even the Americans, I think that's what really I responded positively to that side of him. Because he wasn't quick to just jump to reactions or jump to conclusions. Like he really took his time and was able to kind of
pull from different people who he trusted before he made like a certain call on something. Anyway, I've completely lost track of where I was.
That's amazing, Russ. So amazing. Wow. And with that, I forget.
And with that, I'm lost. Good grief. But yeah, I mean, I think the relationships, just since I'm already talking about it, I felt that the relationships between the various characters kept me engaged throughout the film. I did really enjoy how this culture had existed for a very long time, how they had their traditions in place. And I liked how it wasn't just a family, like a royal family and then the peasants, it was like you had these different tribes that were made up. It was almost kind of like if you were to think of dukes, like if you were to think of kind of like more of the European style where you have the dukes and then you have the king and that sort of thing, was kind of parallel to that with these different chiefs of the different tribes and that sort of thing. But I thought it was cool. I like you said, I liked how there was this mutual respect. Clearly they go back a long way.
Yeah. Even the first combat scene where they're fighting to see who was going to get crowned, if there's someone else was actually tougher. Right. And he tells somebody, these guys, they're not trying to kill each other. They're just trying to make the other submit, basically. Right. And T'Challa says, look, I mean, he's got him on the edge of the cliff and says, and the guy's still struggling. He said, look, you fought honorably. Yeah. Like no one's. I really like that. Yeah. I got goosebumps because he's saying like, no one's ashamed of the performance you fought on. Everyone knows you're tough. Yeah. You did good. Yeah. This is not defeat by any shot. Yeah. So, yeah. No, I'm glad that you said that because that was actually one of my favorite moments in the movie too. And once again, it showcased just why he was fitting of the crown. Just being able to identify the fact that this guy gave it his best shot and he did well. He fought honorably, that sort of thing, but don't be a fool. Right. Like just know when to yield, and because you're not gonna lose your honor. You're not gonna lose face or anything like that. Like you did what was within the appropriate confines of this type of ceremony. Now let's move on to Killmonger. I really appreciated how he was not one-dimensional. A lot of villains that we see, they tend to just be evil for the sake of being evil, and that's it. And I really liked how his character's motivation was interwoven into the family dynamic, about how we discovered that T'Challa's dad essentially killed his uncle. And as a result, this kid was growing up in this world without his father and really any semblance of families, considering the fact that his family was based in Wakanda. And so it was very much a tale of revenge, but I liked how, I don't know, I just really liked how that dynamic worked. What'd you think? I did and I didn't. I thought that they had good intentions with that dynamic. And then I thought, okay, so he's gone up through the school of hard knocks. He's been in the military. He's seen life and death and the hardships. And his intentions were, okay, I know about this material that you guys have and how it can help benefit mankind. Mm-hmm. And I want to be king because that's also shared in my bloodline. And I see the world differently. I see you guys want to keep the technology for yourself and, not cure cancer. I mean, they didn't say cure cancer, but basically if this technology, they could heal people. Freeman got shot in the spine. They were able to heal him within a day. I mean, come on. So they could definitely heal cancer if they wanted to. So, but then he ends up going, I'm just going to be an arms dealer. I'm just going to make weapons and ship all these everywhere. And he was a very angry character. Yeah, I get it, but it just didn't make much sense to me. I wanted it to be more complex. Like you were saying, he's a complex character. I wanted to see more of that complexity and not him just resort to doing just bad person things. It would have been nice in the film if we did get to see a bit more of how he conducted his court. But that was the thing too. Like they didn't show him enough. And so like we saw him in the beginning, we saw him in the end, and throughout the middle, we just really didn't see him much at all. And then they killed him off in the end.
Yeah, I would have liked to have gotten to know him a bit more. I did appreciate just the fact that he was abandoned. Like just
Right.
I could, even though I didn't agree with his perspective on how he thought Wakanda should be, I did empathize with his character in the sense that here you have like a 10-year-old kid thereabouts who once again is abandoned. He's had to like survive on his own largely. And as a result, you're going to get toughened up and,
for sure.
and you're going to have a lot of resentment built up toward your other family members and that sort of thing. And just, yeah, I mean, and again, going into the military, having fought, and like you said, he was in Afghanistan, he was in Iraq, being subjected to a lot of the hardships and a lot of the, I mean, just being in that type of career path of having to take life, that really can do a number on people and that sort of thing. But yeah, I wish that there was a bit more opportunity to be able to find out more about what makes this guy tick.
And I thought towards the end when he finally gets defeated and T'Challa grants him his wish of overlooking all of Wakanda, and life is fleeting, and T'Challa basically says, you know, there's a way we can make this work.
Yeah.
Okay, you tried to kill me, I get it, you know, but he's obviously the better man than I am, you know, intellectually, spiritually, and where there's a will, there's a way. We can heal you, we can work together.
Yeah.
And he just and then Killmonger says, no, you're gonna have me in chains. I'm gonna be a prisoner, and I'm not gonna be a prisoner as my ancestors were. And so you could tell that he was smart. He wasn't just like a thug.
Right.
He had smarts about him, and I thought, why wouldn't you? You know about the richness of the land. You know about your heritage. You have a ton of wisdom about combat and how the world works. You have royal bloodline. Why just do this?
Well, I think it's because ultimately he was a tragic character. And I think from the get-go that's kind of how it played out. It was kind of Shakespearean in a way if you think about it. But I think that's really how it was. And I also think too, the way that ended, I mean, it could have gone either way for me. I didn't dislike how he died. I thought that that's okay. They decided to go that path because, like I said, ultimately he was a tragic character. But I mean, it would have been just as cool if he were to survive and then just became into alignment with the rest of the tribes and how he would fit into this Marvel universe. But I, for one, really loved how it wasn't just like he got stabbed and he died. Like actually, it took him a while to actually die. And actually, he was the one who committed suicide. Basically, he finished the job. But I really loved how T'Challa really listened to what he had to say about how like he heard about how the sunsets were beautiful in Wakanda. He's never seen one, and how he made a point to show him and that sort of thing. Once again, it speaks very highly of Black Panther's character.
I just thought it was just a little bit cliche. The movie was very, very different than the rest of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Until certain points like
there
that.
were predictable moments.
So I'm like, this movie. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's not terrible, but I'm just being critical with it.
Now, the ancestor plane I thought was a really cool idea. The whole notion that they could go and you know be able to commune essentially on a temporary basis with your ancestors. I don't know. I thought that was a pretty unique idea.
Much better use of red sand than in The Last Jedi.
We have all this leftover red sand. What exactly should we...
We're making that Black Panther movie. We could use it there.
Here you go. Yeah, just take this. Yeah, I completely agree. The red sand in Black Panther was far better used than in The Last Jedi. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
When they buried him, I thought, man, he's breathing with his mouth. That's totally getting in his mouth, and it's just
yeah,
a little dry mouth.
But what did you think of that idea?
I liked it. Towards the end when you saw more of his ancestors instead of just his father, I kind of wanted to see that the first time he was there. Mm-hmm. You saw his dad, and his dad came down as a Panther, and I thought that was cool.
That was cool.
I'm glad they gave me that, and I really got some goosebumps in that whole scene, and just that father-son dynamic of his dad was a good parent, raised him right, I mean, 100% raised him right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, the new king was going to continue this legacy in the most positive, helpful way he could.
Right.
Because of the example his father set. And there was no greed. There was no corruption. I mean, that's the ideal person you want to rule over your land.
Yeah.
But anyway, just the talking back and forth. He's like, I'm not ready to let you leave. I'm like, oh, it's kind of tugging on me a little bit. So, and his father was telling me, you got to be strong. And I mean, they did it in a way that wasn't sappy. It was a masculine.
No.
Way,
like just once again, family. I tell you, some of the best movies ever explore family dynamics, and that was just done in spades in this film, where there was an authenticity to just the relationships that everyone had with each other, and it's something that everybody can identify with. And so that certainly was one of the strongest pillars of this film. And I like I said, in the sequels, I hope that they continue that moving forward, because really the original Star Wars trilogy had the same type of dynamics. You had family dynamics that were going on, and that's what caused that global appeal of that particular trilogy. And so I for one was very happy to see that here.
Right.
Now, speaking of Star Wars, not to go too much into Star Wars, but I did not like how Andy Serkis's Ulysses character had to die.
Again,
This is one of the flaws of the film for me, was that, I mean, he also played Snoke
of course,
in Star Wars Last Jedi. And I mean, okay, once again, Andy Serkis is just a fantastic actor. Every character he plays is just mesmerizing to watch. And it's like, why did they have to off him?
right.
And he's, I mean, in my opinion, Ulysses is actually one of the more interesting bad guys in the Marvel Universe. Right. I mean, I would say, if I had to nitpick something about Marvel Universe, is that a lot of the villains that we have seen are by and large forgettable. They're not people who really stick around. I mean, Loki is like the one villain who has managed to stay alive. And he has
lucky guy. He needs to play the lottery.
Yeah. And to his credit, I mean, I do find the villain interesting, but there have been other villains where I'm just kind of like Ultron, for instance. I'm like, the way they approached that character, I thought was forgettable. I didn't think there was anything really redeemable about it. But then again, like Thor Ragnarok, seeing Kate Blanchett playing the villain, and she dies, and it's just like, why couldn't we have had her? And we talked about that when we reviewed Thor Ragnarok on this program, but I, for one, wanted to learn more about her. I wanted to see her make her return and that sort of thing. And movies just have this, I don't know what it is, but they just feel compelled to like have to kill off the antagonist.
Yeah.
So again, in terms of this one, I thought that Killmonger's death was warranted. I thought, okay, that serves its purpose moving forward with Black Panther.
Yeah.
However, I really wanted to see Andy Serkis make multiple returns in different Marvel films.
Yeah. I think, as just a side note before you move on, I think Marvel does have to take that into consideration, because I think this is the 17th or 18th Marvel movie that's out, and the formula is starting to feel extremely similar.
Yeah.
So they got to take some steps to make these films not feel like, another superhero movie and A, B, C, D, E, F, and G all the way to Z is going to happen. They got to switch it up.
I thought that the fight between the tribes, this is another kind of critique I have of the film. I felt the fights felt goofy at times.
Yeah.
I must say though, like during kind of like the big epic battle between the tribes, I thought that the rhino licking the general's face and first of all, the rhino licking her face, I thought was just really cute. Like, because for a moment there, I actually forgot that she was married to the chief of that particular tribe. And then seeing that interaction, once again, family dynamics, seeing her decide that she would stick to the honor of country over her marriage to her husband. I mean, that was a big moment right there where she dropped the gauntlet. It was like, I will not allow you to continue this way. Right. If you continue, we will fight to the death. And I liked how there was just this resolution on her face, and as a result, I liked how the conflict was resolved between her and her husband.
Yeah, and it was basically she called him out because that whole thing didn't make any sense. I mean, you could tell that that guy, the leader of that tribe, let's call it the Blue Tribe.
The Blue Tribe.
So he wanted Andy Serkis to die. Bring him back alive, bring him back dead. I don't care. You just bring him back here so we can deal with him. And this unknown person comes out of nowhere and says, "Hey, you know what? Here's a gift, and now give me the best chance you can of taking over your entire country."
Yeah,
that whole thing. Okay, on a whim like that, I don't think those decisions would have been made. I don't think they would have gone to war. It just seemed completely out of whack. And so leave it to her to bring him back down to earth and say like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Well, and what's interesting about that particular scenario is the fact that the leader of the Blue Tribe, once again, I can't remember what it's called.
I like the color blue, by the way.
He was kind of a lower, not lower, but like a more mild version of Killmonger. If you think about it, the leader of the Blue Tribe, he had this desire for justice. He had kind of a taste for vengeance just because of the wrongs that Ulysses had caused him and his family. He wanted to see this man brought to justice, and there was a bit, not desperation, but there was a bit of an obsession about it because he was talking to T'Challa, excuse me. And if you recall, T'Challa at one point just really had that moment with him where he looked him in the eye and he said, "I will bring him home. I will not kill him if I get him." And there was that understanding that was there. So in a way, Killmonger really had a bit more of that ability to tap into that. Like he knew that this was a high value target for this leader of the Blue Tribe. And he was able to tap into that and try and buy some loyalty from this particular faction. But ultimately, like I said, I thought it was great that the husband and wife dynamic had this moment on the battlefield and that they were able to reconcile their differences. Nothing's worse than marital spats, especially on the battlefield.
But I think when you brought this whole that battle to light, you were saying it was kind of goofy. I don't know if goofy is the word I felt for it, but I felt it was underwhelming, I guess.
Underwhelming is probably a better way of looking at it, because there were certain camera shots where like they exposed too much of the fight.
Yeah.
And it just looked like extras just kind of flailing about.
Right.
Like it didn't have like that Braveheart feel.
Right. And maybe that's part of the Marvel universe, that they've given us too much epic fight scenes at the end. Now we're expecting an epic fight, and then we get like 40, 50 people like duking it out. We're like, that's it. Like, okay. So I felt that could have been better. Even when that guy, Wakabi, gets on the rock and he blows that horn, everyone's like, oh no. And it was just like 3 rhinos that come out. I'm like, was I supposed to be scared there for a second?
Yeah.
Like, that's all you gave me? All right.
Yeah, I thought that was also rather underwhelming. Because they had the whole like, don't you dare, don't you blow on that. And then he did. He was like, wait, 3 rhinos?
This has nothing to do with the movie, but when I was watching the general whipping around the spear and the bow and everything, you know who I thought of was Keelik from Soul Calibur. Remember when he does his showmanship piece where he's that's what I thought of. That was that's so cool.
I love that general.
Yeah.
She was beautiful too.
She was,
like
dude.
All the women in this film were just
phenomenal.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and especially considering the fact that many of them were bald. And I'm looking at them thinking, man, you are beautiful.
Yeah. Oh boy. Like normally I wouldn't like that, but I really.
Yeah, normally I'm a fan of long
really
hair.
like it in this movie.
I know. In this one, I'm like, you keep that baldness.
You could tell that they just didn't fill spots with like regular people.
Yeah.
They really wanted to choose folks with a specific look to them. And they did a great job filling those roles.
Now, another little small complaint I had was I wish they didn't show Black Panther in the new Avengers trailer, because it removes some of the suspense from the fight scenes. I'm thinking, okay, we know he survives.
Yeah.
We know he's going to be in Avengers.
See, back a few episodes ago, that's what I was saying. Like, I didn't, you already see him, so it kind of takes a little bit out of the movie.
Yeah.
So, some of the excitement was subtracted.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I thought was cool was that the notion that they had spies globally but kept a low profile was fresh. I liked the idea that they really had people everywhere that, just whether they were in Oakland, California, or they were in the UK or whatever it is, that they just had folks who they just kept flying under the radar, and they assimilated into kind of what was quote unquote kind of expected of how they would be behaving when in fact they're a part of Wakanda. I thought that was cool.
I have a very Marvel-y question for you, Russ.
Is it a Marvel Us question?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
So the talk of the town is about what's this material, vibranium? What was it called, Russ? It's definitely not unobtainium.
Vibranium?
It's definitely not obtainium.
No.
Russ. Let's not go there.
And it's not titanium. It's not adamantium either.
That was the question I was going to say, because pre-Black Panther, adamantium was like the cat's meow, if you want to say, pun intended there, Russ. Unbreakable metal. That's why they put it in Wolverine. That's what has kind of something to do with his healing. Okay, so he can heal fast. His skeleton can't be broken. But, and all of a sudden now we have this other stuff. It's like, oh yeah, no, that
vibranium. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
It is most commonly known as one of the materials used to construct Captain America's shield, and it is also noted for its connection to Black Panther. And
no way.
Yeah, as his suit is made from vibranium and is found in his native homeland of Wakanda. Now, what I'm getting at, Steve, is you're probably asking the question, is vibranium harder than adamantium? Is that what you're trying to say, Steve?
That's what I'm trying to say. You're picking up what I'm throwing down.
Okay, so vibranium steel alloy that Captain America's shield is made of is stronger than adamantium.
Oh, snap.
Adamantium was a result of Dr. McLean trying to replicate the shield's alloy, excuse me.
Russ,
I had a little bit of a Horizon Zero Dawn just kind of come in, pop in and say hello.
So if we ever have a Weapon X #2, then he should be made of vibranium.
Yes, vibranium is the hardest metal.
Adamantium is so passe. We make wheels out of that stuff.
Now, of course, for in terms of real world, indeed, titanium has the highest strength to weight ratio of any natural metal known to man.
Got it. Thank you for the property table there.
You're most certainly welcome. I'm here when you need me.
No, in real day life, we got certain metals here are stronger than others. I love to talk about science.
All right. Well, do you have any other comments about the
Yes, I do.
plot, or should we move on to script?
Well, this might this might be a segue from both. So, let me think about it.
The vein in his forehead is getting quite large.
I see one in his neck too. So the whole idea of keeping Wakanda secret, I thought that was cool because
that was cool. Very Wonder Woman-esque.
Very Wonder Woman-esque, but at the same time, I was a little bit conflicted because they started saying, okay, this technology is ours, we inherited it, and we're keeping it for ourselves. And okay, so some people could say, okay, that's greed. But at the same time, here comes this villain who says, no, you got to use it to help the rest of the world. And which, hey, okay.
Well, not necessarily help the rest of the world, but more like dominate the rest of the world.
Okay, I get it. But the fact remains that once the secret's out, everyone's going to want it. And there's going to be a bunch of bad people, as clearly seen in the rest of the Marvel movies, both mortal and friggin' immortal. So once the secret's out, it's out. Everyone's going to want to get it. You're inviting all this conflict and you're inviting all this strife basically to come in. And we already saw a taste of that with Killmonger and with Andy Serkis' character. What was
Ulysses.
his name? Ulysses. So that's two people who know about it. They're 2 for 2 now. People trying to get them in and take your stuff, and now you're just going to open your borders. Here you go. Here's the secret. It's out. You know.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, I think that they're tapping into what has historically happened in our own history, just all the different countries. We've all had certain precious metals, precious resources, that sort of thing. When people find out about it, then there is a bit of a stampede to try and exploit that.
Right.
And so I think it's completely within the bounds of reality that here you have a civilization, a country that has been closed off from the rest of the world, and due to certain needs or certain realizations, they make themselves available or known to the rest of the world. You know, they have a seat at the global table. Now, there are certain dangers that are associated with that. And of course, them having like the largest harvesting of vibranium, that's going to definitely cast a spotlight, at probably an unwanted spotlight.
Right.
So it's going to be, like I said, I'm very curious to see what happens in the sequels. I definitely want to see how the story progresses.
Especially at the end when he's talking about with the United Nations and he's saying, this is what we have, we're going to use it for good and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because that totally goes against what the king prior was saying, because that everything was kept secret. That's where they kept the Winter Soldier after Captain America Civil War, and that's where Steve Rogers is also, if you notice the Easter egg at the end. And so... I don't know. To me, that was just, it's going to be interesting. I don't want to say that. I don't know if I quite like that whole reversal, but now how the next movies are going to play out within this series, it'll be interesting how they do it, because I don't know. But speaking of vibranium and its many
Uses,
qualities.
scientific table.
When Forrest Whitaker's characters got stabbed, why couldn't they just heal him?
I think they probably did not have enough time. I think that at that point, Killmonger wanted to see him dead. And if you recall, Killmonger also tossed T'Challa off the cliff.
Right. No, I'm talking Forrest Whitaker's character.
Right. Killmonger killed Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, if Freeman can get shot in the spine and they could cure that, they could cure a stab wound.
Steve. Killmonger has assumed the mantle of king in Wakanda. It is very obvious that Killmonger does not like Forrest Whitaker's character. Therefore, it would be very, very, very difficult to be able to heal the Forrest Whitaker, given the fact that Killmonger would say, negatory.
Vote Killmonger off the island.
See how that works, Steve? There's a logic to that where, you know, he no one was able to heal him. In fact, he had all those little flower thingies burned up and everything else. Basically, it was not a good situation.
That's a red flag.
Now, if T'Challa was in charge, if he was able to win,
Hashtag democracy.
then he probably could have been saved. But in this instance, no. The Killmonger was the man in charge, and as a result, unfortunately, Forrest Whitaker's character had to perish.
Of course, the ape tribe, the gorilla tribe, they could have used their healing snow on him.
Steve,
just move on.
How would Forrest Whitaker's character be transported to that area without Killmonger knowing?
I don't know. It's the movies. We never see him be buried either.
It's because Killmonger didn't like his character. He realized. Remember how Forrest Whitaker's character?
Yes,
revealed that he was the one responsible. Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure Killmonger would make it
not like it
as impossible as possible. To make sure that this dude would not come back. Okay, so anyway, let's go on to script.
Okay, Rose.
Dialogue was well written, I thought.
Yes.
I think we talked about that already. I found myself thinking I could be friends with many of these characters based on their code of ethics and just the way they carried themselves, the way they chatted.
I would humbly agree, although, as I alluded to in the beginning, some of the snubs were kind of, didn't need to be there. I mean, they made sense because, I mean, obviously, in the past Marvel movies, it's all been America. And so this was the chance for Wakanda to be like, we're far superior than you guys are with tech, and we can heal, whatever.
Yeah.
Weaponry, heal, whatever.
Yeah.
But I just I paid money to get snubbed at. I was like, you could have thought of something more clever. So I don't know. Just a small little.
Yeah, for the most part, though, I really did like the script writing.
Yes, Russ.
Cinematography and special effects. I thought it looked like your standard run-of-the-mill Marvel movie, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just it looks like a Marvel Studios movie.
I would have liked to see more panning shots of Wakanda. I mean, they touted it up to be a very, very nice place, and what we did see was nice. But
From what we did see, I wanted to visit.
exactly, I mean, it was like the African Rivendell, basically.
Totally.
And I wanted to see more, and then it just felt claustrophobic in a way. Like I didn't see enough. Okay, I was a small city. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's bigger than that in the comic. But all we saw was like, okay, yeah, here's a grandiose city, and that's about it. So I wanted to definitely see more.
Loved how colorful it was. Though.
Yeah, obviously, Russ. Very colorful. CGI sucked, though. I mean, I'm sorry. I wouldn't say it sucked. It was just below average, I thought.
I thought that certain scenes were a little too green screeny, but I mean, overall, there are other parts of it that I thought were decent. They were good.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see more creative angles be used in terms of the cinematography itself. Like, once again, it's a comic book movie, so I would like to see more kind of just extreme angles or angles that normally you're not used to seeing in cinema. That just have more of that graphic novel feel. I think that's why I really like Sin City so much, was that I was
thinking of Sin City.
Yeah, I mean, they really did the whole cinematography thing as it applies to a comic book justice. Soundtrack.
Beautiful.
Music had my legs and feet bouncing in the theater. I don't know about you.
No, mine did too. I thought I was vibrating the seat too much.
Everybody in the row is kind of like bending over looking at us. Stop shaking the row.
Would that guy stop? Throw some popcorn at him. So the music was wonderful, and then it just made the rest of the music that was not all that percussion and the chorus and stuff. It just seemed rather flat and flavorless, you know, compared to the music when we were in Wakanda.
Even, again, this is not based off of Black Panther, but I love the theme song to the Marvel Studios logo.
Russ, you say that like every...
I cannot, every time, I've watched a lot of Marvel movies, and every time that music is on, along with the logo coming up and everything else, I get goosebumps. It's like, man, I'm ready. Tell me a story.
Although, when it is quiet, you just hear like the pages flipping. That's nice too.
Yeah, that was the older rendition of the logo.
I like that one.
All the logo treatments have been great.
Kind of kept the suspense.
It kind of got me back into the old comic book mood. Costumes, wardrobe,
Wonderful.
gorgeous.
Yes.
Wonderful use of color once again.
And there was a tons of different varieties too. It wasn't like, we just used the same costume, but this one's a different color because they're a different tribe. No, it was like a totally different costume. Like everybody had, this tribe over here had their own set. There was that
Signature look for each one of the tribes.
There was even that guy who had the different plates in his lip.
Yes.
So it matched his suit. I thought that was cool.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
Just whether it was the different types of wardrobe was for the women versus the men and that sort of thing. Just again, it really fleshes out more of the MCU. I love this completely new culture that they've been able to bring in as a result. I look forward to seeing more of that.
I felt that even Black Panther's his suit was understated, kind of like he was. It was strong but understated, just like his character was. Yep. And then what he wore when he wasn't in the suit, his formal attire, that was even it fit his character too. Even when he was in the ancestral plane, it was like a very cottony looking airy shirt with the embroidery along the collar and the buttons and stuff. Very royal, not over the top though, very understated, just like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought his costume was tight overall. I thought it was super cool how the suit was able to absorb the different types of I guess it's like basically like kinetic energy, essentially.
It made it into kinetic. Yeah, it basically reformatted the kinetic energy.
Yeah. Like it was able to absorb it and then can disperse it back out. Like I thought that was actually a really cool ability. Just moving forward, it's going to be cool to see how, especially like in Avengers, for instance, how is that going to play out?
I like when when T'Challa's sister is showing him the suit. It felt very James Bondy there for a second, which I'm okay with that. It was really cool. And she's showing the boots that don't make any noise. And I thought
that was cool.
So I thought they were going to show that way more than they actually did.
Yeah.
But when he kicks the mannequin with the suit, she's like, dude, I just like,
yeah.
Why would you kick it?
Like, I don't know. You told me to hit it. Yeah. And I liked how she busted out the cell phone. He's like, why are you recording this?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, once again, the relationships were just great. Well, all through, it didn't matter how subtle it was or just how much more epic it was. It just, I don't know. I really did appreciate all the family dynamics.
I appreciate the humor too, because the humor, I've been complaining about this for a while. They're making the humor awkward, and that's like the punchline. And this was not. This was actually clever. For example, we were talking about that scene when she's showing him all the tech, and she shows him the sneakers because they're quiet.
Yeah.
It took me for a second, like, sneakers? Why? Yeah,
I was laughing in the theater about that.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to come out with some kind of shoe that closely resembles what they showed in the film or not. Because if you recall, everybody in the theater was like, "Ooh, I like those shoes."
Yeah.
So
they might, but they'll probably be like $5,000.
Find out on my couch.
Didn't Nike come out with Marty McFly's auto tie shoes, and they were like crazy expensive, and everyone's like, "I want those," and they saw the price, and like, "God, I want those."
Yeah. Yeah. So in conclusion, what did you think of Black Panther?
Well, I'm torn to shreds, Russ, between 3.5 and 3 3/4. I like what the movie did on its own, in trying to be its own independent film from the rest of the Marvel universe. I thought it did very, very well. But then it just seemed like it was trying to be, how can I explain this? It was trying to be too much like Marvel. Like, it was afraid to be its own movie. And so therefore it had to resort to the Marvel formula. And that's where it actually lacked for me. I wanted to see better CGI. I wanted a little bit better. I wanted to see Wakanda more. But pretty much everything that had to do with the characters, the actors, the storylines, the characters, the conversation between the characters, I loved. Like, literally the cast and the people carried this entire movie. Mm-hmm. But when it needed to rise above and show us that it could still, the action after the Marvel's 18th film, the action still needed to be on top, and that's where it suffered. The CGI suffered. So to me, it couldn't quite get to a 4. For an 18th Marvel film that's keeping it all in the family, so to speak, they're still carrying the torch, which is awesome. So yeah, I would say I'd give it 3 3/4.
Okay. I am right there with you, honestly. I thought that, once again, it's a wonderful addition to the MCU. I definitely am very curious to see where they go from here. I want to definitely find out more about these characters, find out more about how it applies to the other characters. I think it sets it up very well for when we see the Avengers. I definitely look forward to seeing the Black Panther come back and just see how do the relationships work between him versus like Captain America and Iron Man and Thor.
That's going to be a crazy dynamic.
Oh, it just that particular movie is going to be the absolute Royal Rumble of all these characters that we've been watching for years, and especially with the sheer multitude of new characters coming into the fold. How will these dynamics play out? But getting back to Black Panther, though, absolutely love like I said, I've been saying this over and over throughout this entire podcast. The family dynamics is the bedrock of this film. If they didn't have that, then I don't think that this film would have been nearly as memorable as it is. Right. I think that the casting, like I said, 99% of the casting was spot on. I do think that Freeman was a bit of a miscast, but that's not saying anything badly about him as an actor. I thought that it was a very colorful film. I think in terms of the plot, I think that the plot was both hit and miss in the sense that there were aspects to it that I appreciated, such as talking to the ancestors, how some of the different events that transpired in the past came back to haunt and that sort of thing. But at the same time, it was also kind of predictable. I wanted there to be a bit more from that. So I'm kind of with you. It's funny because I don't normally do the whole like 3/4 star thing, but I keep going back and forth between 3.5 and 4 stars. Yeah. It's right in there somewhere. So yeah, I think in this instance, I will be with you. I think I will give it, and again, I don't like to do this, but it's going to be 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah.
It's right there. Normally I tend to either do the 3.5 or the whole integer, but in this case, I can't get either side. So that's where it's going to be it for me. And again, I definitely recommend this film. I think that people should go out and check it out. It is a very entertaining film. There's a lot to like about this. I think that there were certain parts to it, there are certain aspects that prevented it from being like a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I think also if you're not a big fan of superhero movies, you would still find this highly entertaining too, because it's not the beat your chest style superhero save the universe type movie.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining.
Very much. Well, that wraps it up for this particular episode of Joygasm. Be sure to check out patreon.com/Joygasm and subscribe to get the most out of the show. Also, you can follow us on social media and YouTube. Just do a search for Joygasm TV. In addition to iTunes and Android, you can listen to our podcast on TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.com/Joygasm TV. Last but certainly not least, search Joygasm TV on Twitch to see us stream our gaming adventures live every Wednesday evening at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. And by the way, apology for last week as we did not get on because it was Valentine's Day. It was a time for people to be able to spend some quality time with their loved ones. So, but we will be back this next Wednesday. Mark my words. Consider them marked. Until next time, happy gaming, everybody.
Yeah.